What's up, you beauties? Welcome to High and Wide Hockey YouTube channel, episode 33 of season 7. I'm your host, Jim Icavone, joined as always by Jack Smith. And if you're catching us live on YouTube, make sure you smash the subscribe button, hit the alert so you guys never miss a show. For all the podcast listeners out there, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify so you're the first in line when our newest episodes drop. Attention hockey fans and golf lovers. HW Hockey has just dropped the perfect blend of style and performance, our brand new HW Hockey golf hats. Whether you're hitting the links or just repping your favorite hockey brand off the ice, these hats are designed for comfort, breathability, and that clean, classic look. With a sleek fit and embroidered HW logo, you'll be turning heads while sinking putts. So don't miss out. Keep it high and wide all summer long before they're gone. Let them know at HW Hockey and make sure to send over your mailing address so we can ship you your HW gear. Jack and I are both wearing those delightful hats. I think I got a barcode up here for you guys somewhere. Let me just pop that up on the screen. We have something new we're going to do for this episode. I got to get me and Jack off of there. Where's that barcode I got for you guys? But we're going to do something new for this episode. We got the channel approved for, we hit 1,000 subscribers, which means we can do some cool things. We can do new things during shows, before shows, after shows. How do I get that friggin' barcode up there for you guys real quick? I'll put it up at the end of the show. But anyway, if we can get 10 super chats. No, I think I set the goal for 20. 20 super chats. We'll do a giveaway at the end of the show. And we'll give away one of these bad boys. So if you guys want a hat, $2 I think we're asking for per person. We're looking for 20. So yeah, at the end of the show, we'll do something cool. All right, but let's get to the hockey talk, Jack. We're recording a little bit later on in the week this week, and that's perfectly fine. I think it's even better, maybe, unless you're talking to Teddy, one of our viewers, who was asking for you earlier this week, Jack. I don't know if you saw that.
I don't know if he wanted to talk to me that day.
I think he wanted that, and that's like you're perfect for the reaction shows, and so I'm hoping. He's still got a little bit of that vinegar left. And, let's kind of lead in with that since that kind of kickstarted the week. Monday night, of course, was the NHL draft lottery. The Flyers had the 4th best odds for the first overall pick. Everything seemed to be going to plan, Jack, if not better. They had one more ball to pick, and I think they had like the highest odds at some point, or like tied for the highest odds for the first overall pick, right? They had 2 balls in the tank, and we were all like, oh my God, like this is amazing. Everybody knows how it finished, but let's kind of crawl to the end there. What was going through your mind at this point? I mean, the whole buildup that the ESPN did. What did you think of the production? Were you squeezing your cheeks? Like, what was going through your mind?
At first, I didn't like it because it gave me anxiety, and then I saw our odds go up, and then I liked it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just typical for the hockey gods, if they even exist, to build us up just so they can bring it all crashing down. And I do appreciate that they did everything live, so there's no and right in front of you, so there's no, cheating or anything like that, which definitely took place in the distant past. But yeah, you can't call them on it now. I think it was exciting. It was fun to follow it along and all that, and be led. The only thing that would suck is if you like the first number goes and your team's like eliminated or odds dropped drastically. But luckily for us, we hung around there for a little bit. But the very last thing I remember is like, don't let this number be like I think a 6 or a 7, because that was either 2 teams behind us that with the 10 spots would have passed us, and I think. Well, obviously one of them is Utah. I think it was a 7. I remember being like, "You gotta be kidding me!" And Bruchagol's like, "Wow!" And silence in the stadium, just dead silence. Holy shit, Shadow! Thank you. This guy's a blast. Look at this guy, unbelievable. He dropped a 50 around Christmas time. He goes $19.99 to keep it rolling, baby. Couldn't appreciate it more. And that's what I'm talking about, baby.
Thank you, Dave.
Threw me off there for a little bit.
I have to send a hat Dave's way.
Oh, Jim, that's for you.
Still waiting on a beanie? Send your mailing address.
I'll get you. I could use another one. Mine's getting ratty. But thank you, Shadow. Generous as always. I really appreciate. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And you know what? Just while we're on the subject, I really do appreciate getting 1,000 subscribers because that's a big milestone for us. We've been doing this for what, 8 years, I think. No, 2018 we started, right? So that's what, this is season
I
7.
think we're coming up on 8 years. Yeah.
So we're right around there or something like that. And like, we've only been on YouTube for, well, probably a little bit later in 2018, but it's been a long ride and struggle. There's some haters out there. We're starting to pick up some haters. So we're going to keep struggling through. We appreciate all you seriously because it makes it that much more fun to do this. So, well, enough of the sissy stuff. I'll get off of that. But yeah, so it was funny. I remember it was almost like he wanted a reaction from the guys and they couldn't talk about it yet because they still had to put the numbers in and make it official. And he's kind of looking around kind of awkwardly. It was a little weird. But of course, there's another one, Lyndon. Thank you, sir. Lyndon 49 with $2. I appreciate that. Thank you. So we already got 2 out of 10 here, Jim. You might be, or 20. You might be giving something away tonight. That's a lot. 20 is pretty hefty, but already off to a hell of a start. So I appreciate that. But yeah, and the result was like, I think it was still a less chance of what should have happened. Like it was a 40% chance or something. We have the 5th pick. So the 6th pick was way less than that. And we still wound up, but not just us, because the Islanders jumped the max and got number 1, 10 spots. They jumped. And then Winnipeg, thinking about the playoffs. Utah, 10 spots just to get in front of the Flyers, which is like, come on. So the only thing that, Dan, look at this go. We lost him, though. He's gone. He unsubscribed. Thanks, Dan. I really appreciate that. Been a long time listener, Dan. He he's throwing me off. I'm losing him. Just let's over here. Yeah. So to see that was like, if I was live, there would have been some swear words. But after I was able to calm down and think it through, we are at least very much we didn't fall out of the tier. You know what I mean? Oh my God, Jim, do you have this on blast or something, Mister?
These guys are awesome right now. I would say let's finish and then we'll
been watching I love hearing that. Been watching for years. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I had Purgatory actually told me that too. I was surprised. I'm like, really? Okay. So look at this. It's coming in. I couldn't appreciate this more, fellas. So yeah, I thought about it and I'm like, look, we're still in the tier of the players we want. Somebody could wind up being there. Worst case scenario, you could wind up with a Porter Martone. Who is not a center, but still a hell of a player. And in that same tier until Craig Button came out with his list. So I don't want to go too far ahead of myself here, Jim, but that's where I was at with the draft. I wanted to have our pick, and I'm big on Higgins. And now it seems like we're going to be lucky to get whoever falls. And maybe they even go a different direction depending on that. Maybe their guy is not one of our guys and they make a different pick. And these are some names that you kind of go, oh, what? And now I'm starting to. Should we just go right into it? Because I'm about to name drop.
Well, let's kind of. I want to kind of give my thoughts on the lottery too. I know I did a live show, but obviously you have some time to think it over, and the dust kind of settles a little bit. And I'm not even going to lie, it still sucks. Like we're rooting for the Flyers to lose games so that they get the higher opportunity to pick first or a higher overall pick in the draft, right? And nobody really wants to root for the team to lose. As fans of the team, we all want them to win. Mm-hmm. So you guys have been listening for years, as you said. You would have heard me in the past say there's no such thing as tanking. Build a team and let's friggin' go. Well, now I'm on the opposite end, and I'm like, you know what? Like, if the goal is to win the Stanley Cup and not just sneak into the playoffs and get curb stomped, like you need talent. We're seeing that culture can do so much, right? And I know like this is a process. You build the culture first, and then you add the talent. But at the same time, I'm like, man, there's going to be, and I don't want to say the word generational talent in Gavin McKenna next year, but this is a franchise-changing player coming out in next year's draft. And I'm like, you know what, dude? Like, we've been going through this now for over a decade. And I know the Flyers have made the playoffs in a couple of those years. One was the bubble that like I kind of, sure it counts. But there's like an asterisk on that for whoever won. I think it was Tampa Bay, at least for me. And then they made the playoffs under Hackstall and got absolutely, blown out of the series against Pittsburgh. So it's like, I don't even remember them being in the playoffs the couple times they made it. You know what I mean? So I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? Yeah, lose some games, get the higher pick, get the better player. And, I've been zoned in on 3 players in particular, and they all happen to play the center position, and if you get, let's say, the 4th seed, there's a team in San Jose that said, hey, we might consider trading back. Now you're picking 6 and you don't have your pick of the litter. You're not guaranteed one of James Hagens, Anton Frundell, guys like that, Porter Martone, whoever you guys want. You're not guaranteed that. Sure, somebody can always slip, yada, yada. We'll talk draft, for the next month and a half. But now it's like, okay, you have whoever's left, or, we're hearing that Flyer scouts like who you mentioned, Brady Martin. And I'm like, well, shit, we were just rooting for them to lose for at least a month and a half, 2 months. And now they're not even guaranteed one of these top guys, and a lot of mocks have them taking a guy like Caleb Denoyer, who, I've been watching and is a nice player, but he's not the exciting pick like a guy like Hagens or a guy like Frundell, who I think could really mesh with the player like Michkov. But so it just, I was kind of bummed out, and as I'm watching it live, it was Monday. There's the initial, I was more in suspense and more excited than anything to actually, think things through. And as the dust settled a little bit, I'm like, what the hell, man? They're
another
picking
$1.
6. Oh, I don't think I've seen that account before. So thanks for checking in. Hopefully we see you here more often.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So, those were kind of my feelings there. And I'm like, you know what? Because there was a conversation on Twitter, and I find myself, I like to think that I have the mental capacity to see both sides of an argument. And for so long, I was on the one side, like you can build a team. There's more ways to build a team than just, drafting really low and getting the best players. And we've seen the Flyers try to do that for a decade at least, and we're seeing how, you have to make moves with such precision. If you're going to do it this way, you need to have the correct chemistry in the locker room. And it's not as easy as just throwing a team together. There's a lot of factors. You need players that want to play here. You need to have a good salary cap. You know what I mean? You need to have a good mix of vets and young kids. And in my opinion, the Flyers are pretty far away from having, a difference-making group of young kids. I still think we're like two or three seasons away from seeing, some prime years of guys like Forster. Tippett, I think next year enters his prime. So guys like that, you need to start seeing that now. And I don't think that we did this year. Maybe with a new coach that starts to happen. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I find myself on the side of the argument now where I'm just like, dude, we've tried everything except to actually tank a season, and it sucks to say, and I know the players play to win, but find a way to be able to draft a kid like McKenna and still push forward for the next year. Like the players will, as long as you communicate the plan, I think, I don't know. That's where I'm at though, Jack. That's where I'm at. I'm going to keep rambling on here. But what are your thoughts there?
Well, I love tanking. I'm all about it. Unfortunately, I think the ship has sailed, and it's not me saying that. It's the front office. I really do believe they're going to get a new coach, obviously, and they're going to make moves. And this offseason will probably be not as ginormous. Here we go. Thank you, Mr. Bone, because I was just looking up some of this stuff earlier, so I appreciate that. But the only problem is, they're going to probably sign, and this for who can't read, sorry. He said, Mr. Bone's watching the OHL championship game now, and Oliver Bonk is getting overlooked. Bonk is made for playoff hockey. Well, that's good to know, because they're going to need those kind of players once we do get there. But yeah, I wanted to tank before. This is a good question, actually, by Lyndon. So I was looking at this. They're not making it sound like it's that serious. They're not telling you. They're saying lower body, and they're not putting any kind of time frame on it. But they just took quotes from him and how can't stand watching these games. He needs to get back into it. So that tells me that maybe it's not as bad as we thought, because that was scary. So at the he may be done this year, but at least it's not something that's shouldn't be, affect his long term, his potential Flyers career or what have you. So I don't know if he's going to make it to the series or keeping everything hush hush. but they said day to day on the site I read. I'm like, day to day. It looked like he was going to be year to year, the way he reacted. So it could just be lying. So we'll see, but really not too much to update. Just that little tidbit. Yeah, this is true. And unfortunately, this is what I was going to bring up next. If they make any free agent signings based on what they've said, it'll probably be some kind of goaltender. And that may be because they want the team to grow and not just be getting pummeled in goal. But if you want a chance at McKenna, you have to leave the goaltending as is. Like, it's the only way. That was the biggest issue last year. The only reason they were as bad as they were, because despite the goaltending, they were pretty decent up for a while. And then, the whole Torts thing and all that stuff. So
I just want to point out that when we were talking about, positions prior to the season, goaltender for us, I mean, it was something that we talked about. Like, the goaltending position could sabotage the Flyers this year, and it absolutely did. And you're right. So that's what I'm going to be interested to see. Because there's a couple factors going on, or that could go on, with the Flyers goaltending position. Obviously, I think most fans, if they can, are trying to keep up with what's happening in the Hockey Canada trial with Carter Hart. All I'm doing is reading opinions and comments. A lot of the stuff up there is behind paywall, and I'm just not gonna pay for stuff. But a lot of people seem to think it could be dismissed. So we talked about Carter Hart in a past show. I don't really want to get into Carter Hart like that. Put out a video earlier in the week. A guy that you liked in some of our past shows, Jack, Alex Lyon, could be available this offseason. Maybe he comes back on a deal. I wouldn't be opposed to something like that to help kind of supplement, Urson. I don't think that saves the goaltending, but it just might, maybe it'll be decent enough to win a couple more games, but still lose. I don't know.
He's hopefully just stabilize it a little bit. The whole 3 goaltender thing was ridiculous. But neither goalie, Fedotov or Kolosov, or NHL goalies. I'm not saying Kolosov can't get there, but the way he's treated his career to this point has been a massive step back and pretty stupid on his part. Some of those Russian players, teams, goalies, they just look down on the AHL, and you really shouldn't, because it's very good developmentally over here in the United States, and it proved it. Because Kolosov was worse than Fedotov on the whole, if you ask me. And Fedotov is he never was a part of the equation. Yes, we all know why he got the 2-year deal that he did, and it is what it is. So we'll see what they do. They got to do something. They can't bring back the same, at least based on what they're saying. I can handle another bad year. We have Michkov. I'll have something to watch. I'll have other young players. But I just see everybody taking a little bit of a step forward at the very least. Luchenko's going to be pushing to make the team. Bump's going to be pushing to make a team. Lord knows who else. See who they draft. What's up with that? I don't think any rookie this year in the rookie draft would push for the NHL except for maybe Misa, and that's top of the draft. I don't think that Hagens is going to, God forbid we got him, or Frondell. I don't think they're stepping in day one. So you could theoretically have it so you tanked again. But the problem is the team never tanked. They are rebuilding. Like, I see, and this is something I put in the outline. I see on Twitter how people, that just proves the tanking doesn't work. And I'm like, they didn't tank. They never tanked. Like, yeah, okay, did they sell at the deadline? Sure. That's called rebuilding. If you have an asset that's not a part of your future and you're not in the playoffs, it only makes sense to move that for an asset. That's what you do. That's just common sense. Even if you're a team who, like Nashville, like, they're not tanking and they have a higher pick than us. Things go wrong, and you move things at the deadline because you're not in the playoffs. If you're not going to have these pieces going forward, make some moves. It's just common sense. Tanking, and I'm not saying it needs to be to the bare bones, but tanking is, you're not re-signing Konechny if you're tanking. You've already moved Risto if you're tanking. You've already moved some other pieces if you're tanking. Like, and you're not adding in any way, shape, or form. Like Michkov, even like forcing him over early, which that was a little bit of a different story because we were a little nervous with Russia and all that. Just get him here was the thing. But you're not having all this set up if you're tanking. You want your team to be as bad as possible. They didn't do that by any stretch of the imagination. Even the goaltending was not their plan. Briere got strong-armed by Kolosov because he was an asset that he liked, and that's how you wound up with that. So to say the tanking didn't work is just silly. because I'm watching two teams that have been tanking, San Jose and Chicago, who have added all sorts of immense talent and are going to add even. But you think they're upset? They're drafting 2 and 3.
Right.
You think they're one's going to get Misa, the other one's going to have his pick of the litter? You think that's a
Yeah.
bad thing? They have Bedard and Celebrini. Like, that's just silly. And there's
Right.
just more and more teams that have tanked who have added serious talent or winning cups. I'm not saying it's a foolproof plan, but I am saying that it's something you should consider when you have bottomed out, and instead of just trying to patch it together and make it work. It's something to consider. So seeing some of that tanking doesn't work stuff was hysterical. Like, you have to get the first overall pick.
I couldn't believe what I was reading. I couldn't believe what I was reading, because it was like, oh, Chicago and San Jose, look what happens when you tank. And I'm like, dude, there's still one's getting Misa and the other one has their pick of, some of the better centers in the draft. Like, oh, that's funny, right? So, what are you going to do? To me, if somebody asked me what a tank was, it would mean not actively trying to upgrade the roster to win. It would be, let's lose, and not make it look like it's on purpose kind of thing. Like San Jose for me is a better model of a rebuilding, tanking team than Chicago. I think San Jose's done an exceptional job. Mike Greer's doing an amazing job out there. Like, I thought they were going to be screwed for years with some of those contracts they had. Found a way to move some money, and now they're drafting guys like Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, first overall pick, a Calder Trophy nominee. We're going to talk about that tonight. Sam Dickinson. They traded for Yaroslav Askarov. Like, they're doing it right. They're building a core of young talent, but here's the thing. A market like San Jose, you can sit through that, right? I think where things get a little weird is a lot of Philly people want a rebuild and want a tank. And, as soon as they get one good player on the roster in Michkov, and this is a question I want to ask you next, Jack, everybody needs we need to build a roster now. We need a center for Michkov now. He's 20 years old. Like, he ain't going anywhere. So my question to you, Jack, is, do they need to speed things up because Michkov's here, or do they need to just continue with the plan? Like, I think we're all kind of a little bit jaded because of the Gauthier thing. Michkov's not going anywhere. He's here. He's here to stay. I don't think we need to be afraid of that. Like, that shouldn't scare them from drifting away from what the plan is. If their goal is to build a perennial Stanley Cup contender each and every year, they can't drift away from the plan. Sure, they can modify here and there, like something that Hextall really didn't want to do. But okay, you have one star player. If you're watching the playoffs, you need like 2 and 3 guys, at least. So we're watching Dallas with Rantanen and Robertson's coming back, Miro Heiskanen, and those 2 guys didn't even play. Those are 3 stars right there. They beat a team like Colorado who has McKinnon. They have McCarr. Like, you name it, these teams have star power. And aside from Michkov, I know Konechny, made Team Canada. Forster's getting some props. Sanheim's playing for Canada as well, but I don't know if that I consider guys like Sanheim a star, and maybe Forster gets there one day. But what do you think, Jack? Should they speed things up that now that Michkov's here, or just stay the course, follow the plan?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I wouldn't. Like, I would, if you can get a 2026 is supposed to be a damn good draft. So let's say they bottom out and they don't get the first overall pick. That blows, but there's still a damn good draft. You're going to get another really good player, especially if you get sniped this year. Like, you can always keep adding talent. Like, these guys may not pan out. Luchenko may not pan out. Whoever we draft this year may not pan out. So then what are you left with? I mean, we'll see what kind of moves Briere makes this offseason. And I'm talking offer sheets and trades, but ultimately, I don't see why you need to go for it now. Are you is it because you want to sign some players in 2026? I think Michkov alone should be enough for you to say, hey, look, we've accumulated all this talent. We have Michkov here. We want to sign you for buco bucks. We have the space and then some. Like, yeah, we may have bottomed out a couple years before, but they're not dumb. These players aren't stupid. Like, they understand the situations. Like, we don't even play and we understand what's going on. You don't think the players aren't tuned in, especially if they're considering signing somewhere or have significant offer from another team. So I'm not too worried about me in a destination. Michkov alone makes it a destination, maybe not up there with some of these upper echelon teams, but it's still a destination. So they could take another step back. So I have no issues with them going. They won't, but I have no issues with them going for it because the shot at a guy like McKenna is like the final piece before you just say, okay, we're done. And then, let's go. Let's do what we got to do. And they got plenty of picks and whatnot. They'll add more. Hopefully there's some trades. And they even alluded themselves that 2027, that pick they acquired from Toronto, was to acquire talent. And that tells me that's like a deadline trade or an off-season trade or something, not a draft pick they're going to use or even ammunition to move up in the draft. So they're going to be doing something soon. I could stick it out. I like the draft enough where I can live with it, a shot at McKenna or a damn good player to add one more piece. You just try for it. If it doesn't work, that sucks. But we've seen what those players have done for other teams. Jesus Christ, Crosby, Matthews, McDavid, like, come on. McKenna fits right in. Like, it's got the Mick and everything. Like, I'm just saying, like you see, like, Toronto is a perennial playoff team. Yes, they have their issues. Look pretty good right now. Edmonton had no business doing what they did last year, and they were a game away. And we already know about stupid Crosby and his 3 cups. But, like, the point is, like, to turn a blind eye to this stuff, it's kind of silly because these are life-changing, as you said, franchise-changing kind of players. And Bedard may even get there. Maybe it's not the same road as some of these other guys in year 2. They're putting up over 100 points. But everybody's different. He's still going to be a damn good player. And you already have Michkov. So to have a player like that with him, like, you got to consider it. But maybe Comcast has a tight leash on Briere and their plan, and that's why we never bottomed out to begin with and never actually tanked. And now this is the year where they just are like, look, we're going to make some trades. We're going to maybe sign some offer sheets. We're going to improve the team a little bit. And then 2026, we're really going to go for it.
Yeah,
that's probably what's going to ultimately happen. But I definitely would go for McKenna because those are the kind of players who change your franchise. And to have that and a McDavid or Michkov, excuse me, there's too many M's. Anyway, would be exactly why we went through all this pain. That would be it.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to do it. So let it go. Just let it go, Jim. You're late to the party. We're shutting off the lights. It's last call. I'm sorry. The tank's over. I'm sorry. The rebuild. We never tanked it. The rebuild's over.
All right. So speaking of Michkov, also Monday night, the Calder Trophy Award winners, award nominees were announced. And Jack, I believe you picked these correctly months and months ago. By now, everybody knows it was Dustin Wolf, Macklin Celebrini, and Lane Hudson. The Montreal Canadiens are all nominees. Do you feel Michkov was snubbed, Jack?
Of course. He led all rookies in goals. Like, come on. Like, I think by minutes on ice, he had more production than Celebrini, even though Celebrini missed more games. And then Dustin Wolf, I mean, if they got into the playoffs, maybe I could give you some. He was definitely damn good, but he should have definitely been in there over Wolf. Hudson, is going to win in a landslide. He's a Canadian on the premier Canadian team. And even though he made me pretty close to a net negative player, he still put up ridiculous offensive numbers. Yeah, and they're not going to shy away from that. So, yeah, I mean, he 100% got shafted, but I saw it coming a mile away. And I like it. You know why I like it, Jim? And it's been said, but this is my first time saying it live. Michkov is the way he is. He's going to use that as fire. He's my favorite thing about Michkov is he's the exact opposite of Cutter. You brought this up earlier. Like, I'm not worried about Michkov because he's, we're going to have a Cutter situation because they're night and day. Cutter is a bitch where Michkov is an alpha. And something like this, he won't pout. He won't get upset and cry or wah, wah, wah. It'll piss him off. It'll bring out that Michael Jordan in him because he's like, yeah, you didn't vote for me for this? Well, watch this. And that's the kind of player he is. And maybe he doesn't turn around immediately and freak out year 2, but he'll get there. When he gets into his man body and he gets a real center and this team turns into a real team, he's going to be an absolute force. He's going to be better than all 3 of those stupid players. And I feel that way now. Like, I already feel I'm like, great, they got nominated. Mishkov's the better player. That's all I care about. Because people, oh, well, if Torts wasn't his coach, he'd have won. Who the hell cares? As long as he's the guy that's holding the Stanley Cup in a Flyers uniform, that's all I care about. And that's all that's going to happen because he's the better player. So let him use it as fuel. Like, saw coming a mile away. It is what it is. Whatever. We're gonna turn this into a positive when he blows the doors off next year.
Yeah, motivated Matvei Michkov, Triple M. I agree. I was almost happy that he wasn't nominated. Tell you the truth, you know, because now he's got a reason to show everybody, hey, I'm better than all three of these guys for the rest of his career, and that should be good for the Flyers.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some housekeeping here before we get to some of our rumors. There might be a couple players available to the Flyers. The title of the episode is, could this be a dark horse summer? Is this the summer of the dark horse? And there's a lot of dark horse candidates that we're going to bring up in the last half hour of our show. But we do have a lot to get to here. There was a report that came out today, I believe, on Daily Faceoff. Anthony DeMarco put out that Noah Cates could go to arbitration. Had a source just before we went on air that said it's a little early to speculate on that. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. But there was, I guess, in the article, it was speculated that Noah Cates and the Flyers could go to arbitration. If you'd listen, you know, a lot of you guys said you've been listening for years and years, you know that the Flyers tried to lock up Noah Cates and Cam York to long-term deals when they signed their original 2-year bridge deals a couple seasons ago. Sounds like the Flyers want to keep this AAV and maybe length of years a little lower still. And maybe obviously Cates wants a little bit more and a little bit longer than the Flyers want to give him. So we'll see. But I believe Nasty Knuckles came out and said that they had Noah Cates on, and Cates said that they haven't really been talking. So it's a long summer, a lot to get to. I would assume that a lot of the stuff starts getting, locked up after the draft. We'll see. But that's what's out there now. So we're talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, during his exit interview, he made it pretty clear that he likes being here. He took a step up in the leadership role. All things that check every box. I love it. He said, yeah, I want to be here. I want to be here long term. But if you're his agent, you're kind of like, yeah, we appreciate that. That's wonderful. But you can make some more money here. Like, if you bet on yourself and just do what you did, you're going to be worth more money. I can't blame him for that. I can't. You know, he's too young. He's still a restricted free agent. I would not sign him right up till free agency because that'll screw the Flyers. Hopefully they can find a good middle ground. I don't have. Is he a restricted free agent or an unrestricted free agent after next year? I'm not sure. I kind of threw you in the spot there. I did not expect to.
Let me see. I knew this, but I'm drawing a blank now myself, so I could look this up real quick.
If you don't mind, yeah. Because if that's the case, then let's do like a 3-year. I saw like a 4 for 4. Like, for me, it's a big race for him. It's 4 years. I believe he's 25 years old.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he's an RFA, I believe.
Right now, yeah. I'm just not sure when it's up.
RFA in 2025.
Flyers Purgatory. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Congrats on 1K. It does mean a lot. $5 there. Thank you, Purgatory. Appreciate that.
Be on time next time, though. All right, bud?
You said he's a restricted free agent next year?
Yeah, this summer, yeah, right now.
Okay, so they can't do a 1 year deal. I think that would really benefit Cates, and we might be in a situation where we're not re-signing him. I would like a 3 or 4 year deal at 3.5 to 4, depending on how many years he gets. I think it's fair. If they were to go long term, it's a different conversation. But yeah, I can't blame him. And it's a tradable contract if that happens, if that's the deal. But can't blame him there. It is what it is. He was a good soldier this year for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, a little bit more housekeeping here. The Flyers or Comcast have renamed the Wells Fargo Center. It's now known as the Xfinity Mobile Arena, the XMA. What do we call this now, Jack? The X Arena?
That's Twitter. You can't call it X. It's Twitter now. It's the Twitter Center.
I'm heading up to Xfinity.
It's the stupid center. Look, it's not the Wells Fargo. That's what I'm calling it. Not the Wells Fargo. Because as bad as Xfinity Mobile Arena is, and my friend South African, so it's mobile. Xfinity Mobile Arena, as bad as that is, it's not Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo sucks. They're a horrific, stupid bank, and they are the curse. They literally took over like right after we lost the Stanley Cup, and it's been how long of just the worst Flyers hockey we've ever seen?
I'm glad you mentioned. I was going to say the same thing. Maybe the curse is lifted now.
At the very least. And look, if they're going to move the arena at some point to Chinatown or whatever they're doing, you're not going to slap a bank on there. You're not going to sign a 20-year deal. Oh, God. I mean, I'd be fine with me. I remember when it was the FU Center. So those are good old days. But yeah, it's going to stick with this until they figure out what's going on with that building and potentially a new building. Then they'll sign like a 30-year lease with some dumb bank or something.
Yeah. So, yeah, a little bit of housekeeping there, nothing crazy. So we won't waste too much time on that.
Here's a good question, though. Here's a good question. Do you want to take this or should I?
What else does Noah Cates have to prove? In the sense that he needs a long contract?
Or more money. Either one, I guess, because it sounds like he would want to be here long term. My thing is his camp probably told him, like, bet on yourself. And to me, it's definitely consistency because it's the 1 year. He's really only done it like this 1 year. But if he starts showing leadership skills, like true leadership skills, and ups the offense a little bit, and is just like actually gets like selfie votes too, like he'll be worth more. Like, and that's a lot to ask. But if you're already in a situation where you're ready to make this, why not take some of your your restricted free agent time and just really try to cash in with it's not going to be like $8 million or anything like that, but like more money than whatever's being offered from before. Cause I know they're not talking right now. So there's always room to improve a little bit and get a little bit more cash and whatnot. So for all we know, the Flyers are lowballing or had lowballed the hell out of him. And maybe he wants to, get some more there. So it's not like we're waiting for him to, explode with 30 goals or anything, but if he because remember, they put this guy in McDavid when they played Edmonton. Like, that's a huge feather in the cap. That's one of the reasons why I thought for sure he'd be the most improved player, but I guess they don't, more of a bounce back, I guess. So, I think he thinks maybe he can show that he can lock down the other team's top players defensively and chip in offensively. He was one of the better lines, probably the best line with this team past year.
It was the top line for the Flyers for a lot of the season.
And it didn't have Michkov on that line,
Right.
So I mean, I seriously doubt it, but maybe he finds himself in the second power play or something. Who knows? So there's always room for a little bit more dollars. I can't blame him because he's been a really good soldier. Nothing gigantic, but they probably think they can squeeze more out of the Flyers here. And I can't.
With the cap going up, I would bet the house that he's asking for over 5.
You have to. If you're coming in at over 5, it's to hope you meet in the middle somewhere.
At least, because he made 2.6 something last year.
Yeah,
right?
that's a lot. Even with the cap going up, that's a lot. Maybe they want to see where some other players around his age and position and style of play sign and have maybe some better in the new cap, have some better players to bounce off of. And,
Yeah.
So there's 100 factors here. So good question.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. So we got the housekeeping stuff done. We want to talk Flyers coaching search later in the episode. I want to get to a couple of rumors. Actually, they're not rumors yet, but they could be. Maybe the Flyers are kind of a dark horse team in some of this. So you have Isaac Howard on the list here, Jack. And I know this information came out a little bit ago that Isaac Howard does not want to play for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He would rather pick his where he wants to play in the NHL was how I believe Tampa Bay's general manager put that. And from what it sounded, he said it, he will be traded by the end of 2026 if they can't figure something out. So it's officially trade watch season for Isaac Howard. Flyers are a team looking to acquire talent. I know, I believe Howard is a winger. Do you know that off the top of your head, Jack? And
I'm like 90% sure. Yeah.
The Flyers have a plethora of wingers. And of course, you always want to acquire talent, especially if you can get it. I believe he was like the second to the last or the last pick of the first round of the draft that he went in. If you can get him
Left wing. We could use a left wing.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a winger. Left wing would be it.
Yeah, if you can get him for something less than a first round pick, something like that.
I would give Edmonton's pick right now.
Would you really?
He won the Hobie Baker. I mean, like, he's looking damn good. What do you, unless you have some other kind of deal, what kind of player in this draft are you going to get? You know, like, I think I would, if they're like, he's yours. If you do that, I would do that. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
He's already like, he's not just it's still college, but it's like, it's a big, that's a really nice feather in the cap. And I'm like, he's looking for out. We lost Cutter, hockey gods. It only makes sense. I mean, we're owed this. So come on.
Does he have to say, like, yes, I would play for you guys before a trade like that goes down?
Probably. It's just, I'm sure there's contractual language that will have to be. I don't know, though. They might have to just sign him immediately to an ELC. And, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into that. So they got to be interested. It's all about acquiring talent, man. If you want to turn things around next year, not go for this like stud 2026 draft, then make trades like this and get me a friggin' center in whether it's an offer sheet or a trade this offseason. Like, let's just add talent. If a guy who looks damn good wants out of a location, whether you get him or not is what it is. But you should be in line to get him.
Speaking of wanting to get out of a location, Bill Guerin, when asked about Marco Rossi at his end of season news conference, I think he was asked something like, "Is Rossi going to be around next season? Do you foresee moving or keeping him?" And he said,
"I have the quote. It was a reporter and asked him, "Do you foresee keeping or moving pending restricted free agent center Marco Rossi?" To which Guerin responded, "I don't know." That's baffling to me. Like, you could have said anything you wanted. You could have been like, well, it's a tough negotiation. Oh, we'll see. Or you could have just said, yeah, sure. He specifically said, I don't know, which is a massive sign that they're looking to move the guy, which is, I don't even know what to say. Like, Danny, get him on the phone yesterday. Like this. I'm hoping there's a deal in place already or something. Like, why demoted to the fourth line in the playoffs? Like, I don't understand. I know he's undersized, but Christ, he's pretty damn good center.
I hate to be that guy, but that matters a lot in the playoffs, as we're seeing.
It does, but we're not even there yet. We just need centers. We'll add size later. We just need centers right now. I mean, we need our skill, and then we'll get our size.
But if you look at the Flyers team, they have a lot of these guys 5'9" on the team already.
Well, guess what? If they get Rossi, they're drafting McQueen, and they're just gonna pray. They're gonna get every doctor in the world in here.
All right,
but I get
I know I'm going to be in the minority on this Rossi thing, but
unless somebody else is available. I mean, like, who else? What other large center is available?
Like for me, Rossi strikes me as a guy like, oh, flavor of the week's available. We need him on the Flyers. Like, no, let's hang on a second. If this is the goal, we don't want 5'9" centers. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he could play wing, but this is a guy that's going to get dominated physically in the playoffs playing the center position.
We got to get good first. Are you
going to flip him?
Maybe him or somebody else. Like, you just got to get good first. Then you can, because there's no scenario where you can just add the perfect center. Like, these guys just aren't growing on trees. I mean, we'll figure it out.
Doesn't that kind of put us back into like, oh, Kevin Hayes is available, let's sign Kevin Hayes? Like, I
never really liked Kevin Hayes all that much. Kevin Hayes was big.
I'm just using it as an example. Like this guy's available, we need to bring him in. You know what I mean?
Because these young centers, they're not typically available to have any kind of, they're good. You kind of got to jump at one that is. And maybe that's not their choice. Maybe they do like a McTavish. Maybe they do like somebody else. But I don't see the hulking 6'3" center available.
I've got to be 6'3".
Okay, one, but that's like Frondell. So,
like, the Minnesota Wild are a playoff team.
Why can't you draft Frondell and trade for Rossi?
And they're looking to move Marco Rossi. Like,
that's a GM thing over out there. I don't know. He's good. He's been good. I mean, it's also his first playoff too. Like, you're gonna hold this all against a young kid. Like, that's a little rough. Like, Christ.
It is weird how they're treating him.
He was like this well before the playoffs. He was way out on Rossi before the playoffs. Like, it's just, I get it. I get what you're saying, and I know the Flyers want to get bigger, but you got to get good first.
Yeah, I don't know.
If there were other players like actually available that were like fitted what we wanted, what we're talking about, then he's slower on my list. But I don't see that.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like that's the shitty part of a rebuild. You need to be patient. You can't just go out and get guys.
You gotta like, tear it down to the studs and tank so you get those guys at the top of the draft. That's the only way. We skipped that step. So here's what we're left with.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I mean now. Like, you don't need to go out and trade for a Rossi because you need talent. Like, you need a specific player. If, like I said, if the goal is to win.
Now you sound like Briera. We don't want just anybody.
But is that not how it should be?
The right players. To an extent, yes.
Is that the wrong way to think?
No. But if there's an opportunity to get a good young center and your center depth is a joke, you got to consider it. I'm not saying it's the only move you make, but you got to consider it. You got to consider it. He could be your second line center, and you can go get some other big guy later. I don't know who that is. I don't know how you get him, but you can't let this go. Just let somebody else take it because it doesn't fit your perfect prototype center who is not available.
All right. Classic Jim and Jack disagree on this one. I'm going to chalk it up to that. We got 15 minutes left. We still got a lot to get to here.
Jimmy Unicorn center.
It doesn't have to be a unicorn, but I would argue that a 5'9" 5'9" center is more of a unicorn than anything else. Like,
not today's day and age.
I
feel like there's 5'9" centers all over the goddamn place, which is the problem. But we just need a good one.
Not in the playoffs.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So everybody in the playoffs is all drafted in top 5.
I mean, they're not. Here's the thing. It says 5'9" on paper.
So he's shorter. Yeah,
he's got to be shorter. It's
your thing. Yeah, and you're probably right. Yeah.
So all right, let's move on. So playoff updates. Man, some of those series, the end of the first round, Jack. So we're recording a little bit later on in the week, so we're catching up here. But massive series over the weekend. Winnipeg, an amazing comeback. And what was the other one? Mikko Rantanen. He had 2 hat tricks in his last 3 periods at one point. I saw. Insane what he's doing in the playoffs right now, Jack. I believe Dallas is up 1-0 in that series. And then the other series, who's the other Western Conference series there, Jack?
Vegas and Edmonton. I think Edmonton won the first game. Was it overtime? I just know they won.
4 powerhouse teams out west.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What are we looking at in the East?
Well, I think Carolina's up 1-0 and Toronto's up 2-0. So
that's right.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on there. But I will say, first off, my parlay hit, and it hit because of that Winnipeg game in Game 7 in Round 1. Ridiculous. I won't get too into it. We all saw it. We all know about it. My parlay hit because of that. But the most important thing, Dallas beat Colorado, and therefore the Flyers have officially the 23rd pick or something like that right now, I think. So I think if Edmonton loses, we'll probably, depends on a couple of the other teams, but we should probably have like the 23rd and 24th pick or something like that. So we need Edmonton to lose. Like, that's all we're cheering for right now. Watch amazing hockey. Enjoy yourselves. Let's go Phantoms. Let's not forget about the AHL playoffs. Currently up 2-1 on Hershey. For some reason, right in the middle of a playoff stint, they took like 5 days off. They will resume tomorrow. But it is, they have 1 pick. We need Edmonton for the other pick. And these are important because we're probably trading one. We should be trading one.
Yeah. You mentioned Phantoms. Up 2-1 on the 2-time defending Calder Cup champions, Jack. And everyone's talking about this Todd Nelson guy. Ian LaPerriere's taking him to task.
He's getting LaPerriere right in the nose. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So, there, obviously, we're going to talk coaches in a second. So that'll be sort of a segue there. But is he impressing you at all now? Like, they've got a little bit of an influx of talent down there with some kids, Fresh Blood and Bump, Luchenko, Andre's back down there. They're beating the defending champs in this series. They're hanging with them, winning 2 out of 3 so far. series is, I think it stays in Lehigh Valley on Friday. If they take out the 2-time defending Calder Cup champs, Jack, does that do anything for you with Lappy? Like, okay, all right, let's see what he's doing here. If he wins the Calder Cup, I know we got a long way to go. Are you like, okay, he deserves an interview at least? Is that enough?
Sure, they can interview him, but they better damn not hire him. Like, look, that the Phantoms, I've watched every single playoff game. I think I maybe missed the first period of game 1 against Hershey, but I've caught everything, right? They may be the most undisciplined team I have ever seen. Like, they take penalties like it's nobody's business. And a lot of it's Luchenko as well. He's getting a little bit better, but it is unbelievable. And that's what they do their damage. They score. The game 2, Zayd Wisdom had 2 shorthanded goals. It made no sense. And then in game 3, they had another shorthanded goal. Like, they're playing good because they're 5-0 good. They can definitely hang with Hershey. But they put themselves in a hole, and then they miraculously score. Like, I don't see that holding up. I certainly don't see that holding up if they were to play like the Charlotte Checkers in the next round. It's so stupid how Charlotte Checkers. If they were playing a team like that, who's like, I think top of the league, they're gonna get killed. Like, I think you're getting a little bit of a luck, and their goaltending. And so he did get hurt. Hagen's got hurt, and it's groin. I don't know. He's had a lot of time off. I don't know if he's gonna play or not. Peterson looked good in relief, 15 saves on 15 shots. We'll see. But the goaltending has been good. The defense has been feisty. These games have been feisty. It's been fun to watch. They are really going at each other. But they take way too many penalties. They may even get by Hershey, but my God. And he's made some coaching adjustments because game 1, they looked a little outmatched, and he came back, won the next 2. A lot of that was help on the penalty kill. A lot of the power kills, what you should call it. And I would like to see him, like, beat them in just 5-on-5 play. But I'm not going to get – it's a playoff, so whatever. But, my God, they're averaging like at least 6 penalties a game. That's ridiculous in the playoff game. Ridiculous.
Yeah, playing with fire there. Michael London, looks like he's a Phantoms fan here. They're out there freewheeling.
They're freewheeling, all right.
Well, I had heard towards the end of the year, because I was a little bit wary about Andre. And, the Flyers played a certain structure, certain system. And I was asking this person about the Phantoms, and they said he doesn't know. There is nothing. There is no, not that there's no plan, but the system is not the same as the way that the Flyers were playing. And I was a little baffled by that.
For sure.
Yeah. And
they seem to want to take the puck, not so much to the net, but they want to get centered. They want to just get centered and throw it on net. However, when Luchenko has the puck, he likes to circle behind the net and then just find somebody. And a couple of times he has, like, especially against the baby Penguins. I really haven't. Bump will shoot all day long. Like, he had I thought it was penalty minutes. He had 9 shots, and no goals. Like, he outside of the first game, we had 2 goals, no assists since. But he is shooting. He's just not, they're really taking away space from him. Luchenko takes a lot of penalties, but he's still getting some point. I think he's got averaging at least an assist a game. He had a really nice shot that was saved that I really would have looked so good on a goal. But then again, Grabankin came up and just ripped it home. So they're not they can score some highlight reel plays and do some really nice things. I mean, Zayd Wisdom's 2 goals were awesome as well. And they got some of the vets chipping in. God, I can't remember the name of their It's a Garrett Wilson is their captain, and Gonchar is a big body who's done some things. I think he helped eliminate the baby Penguins with a game-winning goal in the second game and whatnot. But and their defense is good. Sampson and Hunter have been good. They're definitely hurting people. They're definitely hitting people. It's getting feisty. It's for what it is. I'm like, this is a good game. Like, these are good games, So they are. It's been fun to watch, but it's very frustrating seeing how many penalties they take. And they've had at least 2 5-on-3s that they've killed. And then the one, which, and this is against the baby Penguins, Luchenko leaves the box and friggin' touches the puck before he's fully out of the box. He had to go right back in the box for 2 minutes. It's like, dude. But then they score. Then they kill that and score. It's they're not doing that shit against the Checkers. I can say that, but
just again, the defending champs.
it's true. It is true, but I don't think they're the same team. You can tell. And two-time defending champs. But I don't. Nothing that I see tells me that Lappy should get like the big wig gig. Not for me.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's transition into our coaching options now. We are on Coach Watch. There's a few more names added to our list.
I'm really sorry. There is one thing I will give Lappy, and I think it's Lappy. It could be his assistants. I have noticed when they kill penalties, they pressure the point. And ever since they started pressuring the point, that's when all the shorthanded goals started. Zayd Windham specifically. So I don't know if that's because he was a penalty kill guy with the Flyers, remember? So maybe that's Lappy. I don't know. But once he started implementing that, they started scoring out like these 3 shorthanded goals in the last 2 games, against Hershey. Sorry, just want to throw that out there. I don't want to kill him completely, so I'll throw that out there.
But in my mind, he should be at least considered. Like it shouldn't just be a absolutely no. Like there's a reason. Maybe fans don't see it because we've only seen, whatever results. There's a reason he's in the organization as long as he's been in the organization. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he should be considered, but that doesn't mean he needs to be at the top of the list kind of thing. So,
well, and that's Mr. Bone. That's fair. I mean, they did do it against Pitt too, but you're absolutely right. That's true. They are a veteran team. This league folded, the AHL folded tomorrow. Hershey would, be in another league somewhere else. They are the creme de la creme of the AHL.
All right, let's move on. We got 4 minutes left in the show. Let's get down to some coaching candidates that are no longer on the list for the Flyers to consider. Mike Sullivan went up to the New York Rangers. Will be their next head coach. Jonathan Cooper likely be back with Tampa Bay, so we can cross them off. Joel Quenneville is with Anaheim. So we can cross him off.
Yes.
And so let's talk about the guys that are left here. Some of the bigger names we've been talking a lot about Rick Tocchet and Pat Ferschweiler as the lead candidates for the last few weeks. And obviously Brad Shaw's in that mix. From the sounds of it, maybe Ferschweiler is kind of, taking the back seat there. We saw David Carl re-upped in with the University of Denver. Maybe Ferschweiler, takes that route. A little bit more job security playing college hockey. They just won the NCAA tournament. Why does he need to make the jump to the NHL and potentially lose a job in 2 to 3 years if the players don't like him, God forbid, whatever. So I'm not saying we should cross Ferschweiler off, but he's kind of fading. You had him at 15% in your coaching options here. I think that's probably about right. Rick Tocchet, who, when he became available, instantly we thought a Pennsylvania team. And obviously everyone in Philadelphia was like, oh God, no, he makes too much sense for the Flyers, yada, yada. For me, Pittsburgh made the most sense. He used to play for Pittsburgh as well, and maybe had some of his better years playing for Pittsburgh. I just learned today, if you guys watched Snow the Goalie, his family still lives in Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh's kind of on the downslope, or maybe not so much as we think, because they are stocking up on prospects and draft picks, and they made some weird moves at the trade deadline, so maybe they're trying to gear things up for Crosby's last couple years there. But that would be an appealing spot to me for Rick Tocchet, more so than Philadelphia. We've said in the past, we've told you guys, the Flyers tried to hire Rick Tocchet years ago, before Tortorella, and Tocchet wanted nothing to do with the Flyers. Do you remember when they inducted Tocchet into the Flyers Hall of Fame and there was nobody in the crowd? Like, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that kind of sucks. It's just, a lot's changed with the Flyers as an organization. I don't know if enough has changed to entice Tocchet to come back to coach here. That's why I think Pittsburgh, we're hearing Boston now is number one, wants Tocchet as well. Look, Tocchet's got his pick of the litter, right? Or he could go back to TV. And he could live a cushy little life making jokes, hanging out with Biz and whoever the hell else is on that show, and Gretzky, and just, kind of ride off into the sunset. What are your thoughts on Tocchet, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said. I mean, TV, he seems to be dipping his toe back into it already. Pittsburgh always made the most sense for him with how he is. Boston, I mean, I know they're on a downswing, but, the only team heading upwards is Philly, but I still don't see him going that direction because this guy was drafted by the Flyers, is a prototypical Flyer, was in 2 different cups with the Flyers. And yeah, he did get traded and win with Pitt, but Pitt is his team. He's made that pretty clear. He said it was a better city. And that's a quote. In Pennsylvania, the best city in Pennsylvania is Pittsburgh. When he was an assistant coach and the draft was in Philly, he came out on stage and he made the pick. This guy does not like us. So a fungal. I don't want Tocchet. I would have been okay with it. He's just burned us at every possible end. So screw the guy. I don't think he's some guru of a coach anyway. So does Danny want him? Yeah, probably. Does Tocchet want us? No, he does not. We'll go back to TV before he comes to Philly. You got Pittsburgh and Boston available. He's going to choose Philly. I don't see it because I don't think that will be a cup contender by the time his tenure is over, in my opinion, because there's too much building to be done. And I just don't see it. And personally, I don't give a rat's ass because when it comes to Tocchet, he feels like a traitor. Now, whether he is, doesn't like us because we traded him back in the late 80s, early 90s, I don't know. But to me, he definitely likes our rivals much more than he likes us. So I could give a shit. I don't think he's coming here. I don't think he wants to come here.
Bottom line, if he wanted to be here, he would have been here years ago. And that's a fact. So, I mean, we'll see. Anything can change. Money changes a lot of things, right? So we'll see.
That's definitely true. But his whole post-career has been anti-Flyers outside of the one time he was like our intermission guy because he was dipping his toe in the TV market. Like after or coaching. Like he was our post-game guy and then was the assistant coach with Pittsburgh and immediately marched out on stage and made the pick for Pitt in Philly, when the draft was in Philly. And it's just, to me, that's like a big, so I feel the same way. He doesn't like us. He never liked us. Let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to a couple dark horse candidates. And one, admittedly, I only know this potential coach as a former player of the Buffalo Sabres, and Jay McKee. Apparently he's coaching up in the OHL. I think he's doing well. He won a championship back in 2021, 2022 with the Hamilton Bulldogs. And he's been bounced in the first round the last couple of years with Hamilton. But this is a guy that Danny Briere knows. And I think that's all it is. As soon as his name kind of cropped up a week or so ago, it was kind of like, yeah, this doesn't really seem like a serious name. Like whenever a team's looking for a coach, like 20 names kind of come out. This kind of just seemed like a name for me. What are your thoughts on the McKee rumors here?
Well, I agree with you. He's just a name, but he's also former teammates with Briere. So this to me feels like if I give you an interview, that gets your name out there kind of thing. You're not getting the job, but we'll say that we interviewed you. And therefore, your name's out there. And like you said, he's doing well with OHL. So you got to get your name out there a couple of times. This will help. Briere, former teammate. I do remember him, actually. That name definitely is familiar. So I think it's just a favor that Briere's doing. At no point do I think he's actually a candidate for the job. I think this is just a nice thing to do for a former teammate.
Yeah.
I've got to thank the chat here.
Well, I don't know anything about this guy. So if the chat knows anything about him, if you know anything about him,
Mitch Love is a assistant coach with Washington, and I don't remember what he's in charge of. I want to say offense in the power play, but I could be wrong. I will say that when he came to I believe he came to the team last year, and their coach is like whose name escapes me, but their head coach in Washington, he's like the new guy. He's like the new Trots for coaching, basically. Yeah, thank you. And excuse me, this is his assistant. And when he came in, Spencer Carberry, yes. And this is where things started to turn around. Like they were good last year. They snuck into the playoffs when we all had, a lot of us had Washington falling off. And now they pretty much were in the running for the President's Trophy this year. Like those guys are doing a great job up there in Washington. Look at a guy like the defenseman from Ottawa they got, whose name, of course, escapes me. Chikrin. Like what was he doing in Ottawa? A whole lot of nothing. And now he's like signing a great extension in Washington. He's been a huge part of their resurgence. Dylan Strome has bounced around the league, found a hell of a home here in Washington. They go and get a guy like a locker room cancer and Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's working. It's just like everything that happened. It's like they touch gold. They got the Midas touch. They bring in all these players and things just work out. It's like you got to hand it to that coaching staff, and he's a major part of that coaching staff. So maybe it's a little early for him, but I understand where all the love is coming for Mitch Love.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Let's get to our last guy on our list for tonight.
That's all I get. I thought
that's the most
love?
That's the most I've ever heard about this guy in my life.
Just understand, like the Washington resurgence had a lot to do with Carberry and Mitch Love. That's
okay. No, and I was being genuine. Like that. Thank you.
I know.
Okay. Let's move on to Jay Woodcroft, Jack. And this is a guy whose name's come up in our chat multiple times.
We brought him up like a month ago.
Yeah, this is a guy that I never took serious, if I'm being honest.
I didn't either.
And his name would pop up, and I'm like, oh, Jay Woodcroft. His name's popping up in the chat again. Here we go. And I know he came out to watch a couple Flyers practices a few years ago, and he went over to Europe to watch some games over there, learn more about coaching, yada yada. Like that's great. Never took it serious. You go look at his wins losses with Edmonton, and you see a 724 win percentage. You see a 665 win percentage in an 82 game season, which is remarkable. 50, 23, and 9. That's outstanding. Lost in the looks like the conference finals in 2021, lost in the conference semifinals in 2022, and was fired 13 games into the season in 2023, 2024. Not sure. I didn't follow the Oilers like that, but I knew that it was like, wow, this is a really bad start and they might not make the playoffs, and they came all the way back and did. What is it about Jay Woodcroft that people love, Jack? Do you know anything about Jay Woodcroft that would make you like, yes, the Flyers need this guy?
The only thing I can really say was he was pretty good with Edmonton until he got scapegoated. Like he was pretty good with Edmonton. And then that year they started off where they got no goaltending. Like the goaltending just said, nope. They fired him. Then McDavid and Draisaitl started playing better. The goaltending was at the very least sufficient. And the team took off and they freaked out. Like we lose like 10 games in a row. Something happens. And they just happened to have heads roll. And that was the head that rolled. So he's also like, was he 48 years old or something? Like he's young. He's the kind of guy, if you want to grow with your team, like we all saw in Carl, who signed an extension with Denver, like if you want a guy like that, because he's young and can grow with your team, Woodcroft is not 60 years old like Tocchet. He could grow theoretically with your team. So there is a lot to like there. I think there's untapped potential. I never took it seriously because I felt, well, he was watching the game early in the season, whatever. Like, whatever. To me, that's, geez, Torts was still the coach. There was no rumblings about him getting fired or anything. It was the beginning of the season. So I didn't put too much stock into that. But now that I hear they may be actually interviewing him, we'll take it more seriously. And we did get called. I remember reading a comment. I believe it was from our buddy Frank. But we did bring him up before, but I never took him seriously until really this week. And he's still a dark horse. I would not put him in the top three. But he might sneak in there. But even then, I don't think he'll get it. But it is interesting. I wouldn't hate it. It'd be ballsy, but I feel like why wouldn't they just hire Shaw? But it would be ballsy. It would be interesting. So we'll see.
Well, if you ask me if I'm in for Woodcroft, I would say if he's going to bring in Connor McJesus, sign me up. If there's a way to bring him in 2026, and it's by hiring Jay Woodcroft as the connection to help convince him to come play for the Philadelphia Flyers, sign me up for Jay Woodcroft tomorrow. I'm in.
You think he's got that kind of pull with McDavid?
I have no idea. McDavid's probably the reason Woodcroft got fired, to tell you the truth.
That and the goaltending that year. I mean, you're saying McDavid marched in there to get rid of this guy?
I mean, if McDavid likes Woodcroft, you're not firing Woodcroft, you know?
Well, that's true. But
You're
I
not
mean,
gonna
I
piss
don't.
off your
I
best
think he's
player in the
indifferent.
world.
I think he's indifferent. Honestly, because they were good the year before. It just got off to a horrible start, and a lot of that was goaltending. But we'll see. We will see. So why don't we just stay out of the Woodcroft? Well, if you're saying that's the reason he got fired, then you definitely don't want to hire him.
Yeah. You're right. For shits and giggles, if they can find a way, I'm not going to give up on that dream, as small and unrealistic as it is. If you're Connor McDavid, how do you not test the market? Like, someone's going to pay you $20 million a year if you hit the friggin' market. They're going to find a way to give it to you. I mean, if the Flyers keep going the way they're going, they're going to have it. Olsen, let me have this dream, all right?
It'll be like LeBron when he hit free agency and had every team give him a full presentation and just treat him like gold and like God. And, I don't see it happening. I know anything's possible. Gretzky was traded, but I can't see it. I can't see it happening. Jim, come to it. Is McDavid's as likely as Gavin McKenna?
Well, I was going to ask you, what's more likely, Connor McDavid or Gavin McKenna?
Aliens touching down and meeting humans in broad daylight. It's more likely than either of those. Okay. I'm sorry. Honestly, McKenna is probably the answer is McKenna, because we hire the wrong coach. We don't get a goaltender, and we are the 8th best team, and we win the lottery. That is more likely than McDavid even hitting free agency, let alone choosing Philly.
And this is the topic for maybe next episode, because I could talk about this all day long. And the person, the Flyers played Edmonton, I think it was sometime in March. And I was talking to a Sportsnet reporter from up there, and we were talking about McDavid, and I'm like, somehow the Flyers came up in this conversation. It wasn't me saying McDavid was going to sign in Philly, but the Flyers came up, and I'm like, why would you want to play in Philadelphia? Like, what does Philadelphia have to offer? And I think Mike had mentioned, it's in the best location for travel. Like, players that factors into players' decisions. But like, if you could play in Florida, Vegas, all these friggin' places now.
You can't beat out the tax-free stuff, the wonderful, locations. But I will say this, of every team out there, the one team that if you show up and bring them a cup or just play your heart out or an absolute stud, you will be beyond a legend in this town. There will be a statue of you out here. Like that's what some of these players don't understand. Like Michkov. Like, if we win a cup with Michkov, he will have a statue outside of the dumbass arena. Mine too, honestly. But like, that's how these fans are. Yes, we can be really rough. But at the same time, when you provide and you are what you should be, that's why I love Michkov so much. I have zero worries about him. We will have your back tenfold. And there will be a massive statue to you. Like, no, I don't think, in my opinion, you can argue with me, but any other team in the NHL will treat a player as strongly as Flyers fans would compared to any other team, especially if they win, if they're successful and they're the greatest. I mean, look at how we view Lindros. And that was, in the grand scheme of things, he was supposed to be better than Gretzky, theoretically. How things definitely puttered out and didn't work out. And stories you hear about the locker room not being on the same page and all that. And we still hold him up as a freaking superhero. Like, that's how we treat our players. John LeClair is a damn good player, but like, it's not even a Hall of Famer. And he's like everything to me. He's easily my favorite player. So if a guy like McDavid or Michkov or both, if they were to like do anything here in Philly and be successful and be just a flyer and just give it your all every night and be a stud, there will be a statue with you, especially if you get a cup. Like, look how they hold the Rossi Bullies. Like, every single player on that team is like on those Stanley Cup teams are like what do they call that? Like, you're a part of the team. You're a representative of like the team, and you have a job for life with the Flyers because you were on a Stanley Cup winning team. I mean, we're going back. Oh, we didn't mention this. Ed Van Imp just passed away at 84. Now, he ran into my elbow, beating the Russians. Like, what that did for these players, how that made them legendary. They are mythical creatures because
you think
they were
today's
that
player
active.
cares about that these days, though, Jack? You think
No, maybe
like
not.
they used to?
I think Michkov does, but other players, it's tough. If you're not like a Philadelphia fan and you've played in other cities, see, you got me thinking of players like Cutter Gauthier, and I'm like, yeah, no, of course not. But like
a Kachuk comes to mind. Like he would stick it out in Ottawa or whatever if it meant he was going to be a god there. But like I just
right,
and
now,
like I said, this is more of a
me.
conversation for another show because we're coming towards the end here.
Right,
but like
but it does depend on the player. And if I was going to sell, it depends on what you want. Like, if you just want money, okay, well, that's one thing. But if you want location or you want to win or whatever, but like if your legacy, you want like a legacy for life. And some of these players are so good, they have it throughout the NHL. But I'm just saying, like, if you were to win it, you were to be successful in Philly. Like, it's better than other cities, hands down. Hands down, it's better than other cities.
Yeah.
Especially hockey. In the United States, especially hockey.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, that's a good conversation for next episode. Make sure we'll put that in the notes. Like, I could always talk about why players won't sign here. Like, I've said for years,
I gotta thank Mika here. She's making my point for me. Remember, why did Michkov want to play with the Flyers? His father was a big Flyers fan, and that's a team that bitch slapped Russia in the 70s. Just saying.
Maybe he's got friends over there. He could bring the Russians over.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys we haven't talked about, but we will in the future.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this episode up. I think we're coming towards the end here. If you guys haven't already, we got a bunch of super chats in here. We want to thank you guys for that. I finally found the barcode. If you guys are interested in buying one of our brand new HW golf hats that we're both wearing tonight, there's your barcode. Leave it up there for a couple seconds for you guys. Make sure you take a screenshot of that or whatever you're going to do. Send us your mailing address. Let me take this off the screen now. I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. We had a lot of new viewers, a lot of new people in the chat. We appreciate you guys putting out a lot of content. Thank you for getting us to 1,000 subscribers. We do really, really appreciate that. We're now monetized. We can make a couple bucks, doing something that we really enjoy doing, and that's talking to you guys once a week. So if you enjoyed the episode, make sure to subscribe. Help us on our quest now to 5,000 subscribers. We're going to set the goal a little bit higher. We want 5,000 subscribers. We're going to set the goal for June of next year, but we want it as soon as we can get it. So we're going to give ourselves some time to get there. So we're on the road to 5K now, ladies and gentlemen. HW to the moon. Leave us a like and a comment. You can watch us on YouTube, obviously, Twitter, listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Set alerts so you're the first to know when we drop a new show. And for all of our latest episodes, articles, and updates, you can head over to hwhockey.net. For Jack, I'm Jim. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.